Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. Amongst the documents that were released by the Moscow Police Department via City of Moscow website earlier this week is what, in my opinion, is a very crucial document. It is a narrative written by Sergeant Dustin Blaker, describing his interactions with E.G., whose name is redacted here, but who is the individual who we're going to learn here in this document, picked up Kaylee, Madison, and one other unnamed female at 1122 King Road the evening of Saturday, November 12th, 2022, and then picked up Kaylee and Madison nearby the traveling grub truck, as we've learned previously, which was located on Main Street. Let's take a look at this document in detail. On November 14th, 2022, at around 17:10 hours, I contacted E.G. in the front lobby of the police department. G had contacted Moscow PD earlier in the day and stated he is a local Uber driver, and he gave Kaylee and Maddie a ride home on November 13th, 2022 from the downtown area. G had been in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area when he contacted us and stated he would not be back until 1700 hours. I'd like to interject here that Sergeant Blacker is writing this report on January 11th, 2023, almost 2 months after the day of the crimes. Paragraph 2 states as follows: I asked G how he knew Kaylee and Maddie. G stated he drives for Uber and Lyft, and Kaylee and Maddie have become some of his regular customers, and this is how he should be met them. G stated he was contacted by Kaylee on November 12th, 2022 at around 22:02 hours. This would appear to be approximately 10:02 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. It continues, and asked if he could pick her and, quote, some friends up at 1122 King Road and take them to the Corner Club. This continues. G arrived at the address at 20:15 hours and picked up Kaylee, Maddie, and one other female. If I could interject here, ladies and gentlemen, again. This sentence makes no sense. This must be some type of a typographical error, because it would seem unlikely that Kaylee would place a call at 22:02 hours the evening of Saturday, the 12th of November, and then would be picked up earlier in the evening at 20:15 hours. So this must be some sort of a typographical error. This is the first time that the public has learned, to my understanding, that there was an unnamed third female in the car. Continues. G stated at 01:45 hours on November 12th, 2022. This would be 1:45 a.m. on the 13th of November. He was contacted by Kaylee again and asked if he could pick her and, ladies and gentlemen, quote, some friends up at the grub truck. So this would suggest it's not just Kaylee and one other person, Madison, but some friends would suggest or lead someone to conclude that it's more than just the two young women. That is my opinion that I give here, as I give in all of our presentations, including this one. G arrived at the grub truck at approximately 1:49 a.m. This would have been 4 minutes after the call was placed from Kaylee asking him to pick her up and some friends. G took Kaylee and Maddie home. G told me he has been driving for Uber and Lyft since 2019. G told me Kaylee has been a regular for at least the last year. G stated he would be working, but Kaylee did not contact him through Uber or Lyft app, but instead texted him directly. Both times. There's no explanation given or any follow-up question, apparently, by Sergeant Blacker as to if he knew why Kaylee would contact him directly this way, when he started out the conversation by saying he has been driving for two companies, Uber and Lyft. Not that he was a driver that offered out his services directly to a customer. Next page. G stated when he got to the grub truck, he parked in front of the grub truck on Main Street, facing south. G texted Kaylee. He was there, and she stated they would be there in a second and that they were at order 75 and theirs was 78. Kaylee and Maddie came to the vehicle a short time later. Kaylee was in the front passenger seat and Maddie was in the rear seat. Maddie was eating the food from grub truck with her hands. They all had a casual conversation. G stated they appeared to be fine and nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. And here it appears there was no follow-up question, or at least if there was, as to how he might reconcile that Kaylee had called and asked for a pickup of what appeared to be more than just herself and one other person. If there was any conversation relative to that, it's not stated in this report, obviously. Next paragraph, G stated he still had the texts on his phone and he sent screenshots to me. I burned those screenshots to a DVD and booked it into property at a later time, along with other documents I had related to this case. G was not able to give me more information at that time. End of the report. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this report was prepared by Sergeant Dustin Blacker, badge number 108, reviewed and apparently approved by Corporal Payne, badge number 157. Corporal Payne is the lead detective in the case. He signed the affidavit of probable cause. I'm going to throw out an opinion here that I give under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. Once Detective Payne saw this report, wasn't there potentially a glaring omission of what time did you drop off Kaylee and Madison? Where did you drop them off? And if it was at 1122 King Road, did you notice anything out of the ordinary? Because this would have been approaching 2 a.m. And it would just be a couple of hours later, plus a few minutes, depending on when they were dropped off, the start of the crimes occurred per Moscow Police Department. This report, lacking that information, reviewed by Detective Payne, gives rise to such questions as, is this the way that other aspects of the investigation occurred? Giving my First Amendment opinion here, not based on any facts. This is purely speculation that I give under the First Amendment, freedom of speech and of the press. If you have any comments or opinions under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, please leave them here. This is Kathy. Thank you for joining us today.